Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Build Show. I'm John Peitzman, Master Coach and creator of the Build Framework. I work with teams and individuals all over the world to help them thrive in their personal and professional lives. And as your host on this show, our aim is to help transform lives one guest at a time. And how do we do that? We do that by having amazing guests. And today is absolutely no different. We have with us Fiona Ward. When Fiona first sought coaching in early 2021, it was a pivotal moment in her life. She had for the first time experienced a redundancy following a career that had seen her navigate her team through the complexities of 2 company mergers, multiple acquisitions, and 2 demergers. These transitions demanded her professional expertise and personal resilience, as they involved relocating herself and her 2 sons a total of 5 times, including several years in Singapore. Post-pandemic challenges left her searching in a changing job market. Having initially launched her career in large corporations, Fiona came to the realization that she was drawn to the autonomy and dynamic pace of companies in the startup or scaling up phases. Recently, she accepted an executive role in Melbourne, uprooting her life once again, this time from Sydney. And she actually got on a plane this morning and flew from Melbourne to Sydney to be in the studio with us here today. I'm so excited. She is one of my absolute favorite clients of all time. She's the epitome of resilience and authenticity, and I'm so pleased to have you, Fiona, with us here today. Welcome to the Build Show.
Thank you very much. Great to see you.
How was the flight?
The flight was uneventful, which is perfect.
That's great. It's a pretty quick flight from Melbourne, right?
It is. It's only just over an hour.
That's great.
Yeah.
So here we are. Now, the interesting thing is that we've been in a coaching relationship for 3 years now, and this is the first time that we've seen each other in person because we've been doing it remotely, right?
It's true.
So it's kind of surreal, but it's great to have you here. And,
Thank you.
And how are you doing, and what are you excited about in life right now?
Well, I'm excited to be here. You know, this is a real change of pace for me. I've never done this sort of interview before, so that's it's good to push myself a little bit. But look, I'm just excited about, you know, the company that I'm working in. I'm new to Melbourne, sort of working everything out with my family and meeting new people. So just whatever comes.
Yeah, just being open to it. And I know that we've talked about that, you know, over the years, and I really love the opportunity to have this conversation with you today because it gives people an idea about what coaching is kind of like, especially in the long term, right? Because we've had a long-term relationship and utilizing the Build framework to do that. So we'll jump right in and have a conversation. So for those of you who don't know yet what Build is all about, Build is an acronym. It stands for Build Relationships, Understand the Business, Implement Strategies, Lead and Inspire, and Deliver Excellence. And what I love about this show is that we're able to take the Build framework and that lens and then talk about whatever the specific expertise that the guest has or the journey that we're on. And in this case, it's about coaching and your particular, you know, personal journey in coaching and kind of the insights and everything that you've been through in going through the journey. And I guess before we get into, you know, walking through BUILD, if you want to give people a little context about what brought you to kind of, I know I did a little intro there at the beginning, obviously, but what brought you to coaching in the first place? Like what made you want to even lean into coaching?
I think it was probably a friend of mine who I knew had a coach, and she suggested I needed a coach. So after, you know, the redundancy, I didn't realize that I had wrapped so much of my identity into me as a person in a role, in a job. And to sort of lose that, I did feel like I lost myself a little bit. I lost my purpose. And frankly, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what job I wanted next. So it was a friend who started that journey. She still has a coach that she sees occasionally as well.
Right.
And so then I sort of went out to the market. I met a couple of coaches. I met yourself, and
here we are, 3 years later, as they say. Great.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive right in because I mean, there's so many insights, right? But what I love about Build is it allows us to kind of frame things in the different, you know, particular categories. So if we look at the all-important and the foundational element of build relationships, what do you have to say about your journey in that category over these last years?
You know, I think reflecting over the time we've had together and my growth, I think building relationships was actually my biggest challenge. You know, formed a lot of relationships and friendships and partnerships, romantic relationships through people that I met through work. And what I probably realized was, so much of those relationships was about work, and the conversation and how we interacted. And, everybody has their own life as well. But without, I guess, through the journey that I've been through, that's not as important anymore. So I definitely still work on relationships with work, but I'm much more focused on what happens outside of work. So for me, personally, I'm happier because I spend more time away with people I care about outside of work. And
Right.
I've actually put the priority on them.
Yeah.
Which, even though I have 2 children and I should have been doing that my whole life, I'm not sure I was.
Yeah, no, I got you. And these are kind of loaded questions in a way, because I just realized, unlike other guests, I kind of know you.
I was going to say, what do you think might be the biggest challenges
I
are?
know our relationship is a little bit different, right?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
kind of wondering what you might be thinking. But because I know you, and I know,
Yeah.
full
Yeah.
disclosure, she's given
Yeah.
me permission to do this. So if she doesn't want to talk about something, she'll say, hey,
Yeah.
I don't want to say that. But in general, she said, bring anything up, talk about anything.
Yeah.
Because just personally, I think, and again, that's really getting to the depths of what coaching is all about. I really, and this isn't rehearsed, you don't even know I'm going to say this. She's like, oh, what is he going to say now? But I think what I've been amazed in is your relationship with yourself that has changed.
Yes.
So before I go into what I think that's about, when I just say that, because you're right, what you just talked about with work and you're putting your identity out there, very, very true, right? And kind of bringing that back to other people in your lives in different arenas of your life. What would you have to say about the transformation that you've had with your own relationship with yourself over this last, these last couple of years?
Well, I've got to know myself a lot better. I understand my triggers. I realized that I was in very much fight or flight a lot of the time. As you know, I meditate. One of the first things you
where
did.
Where did you get that idea?
It was 100% from you, and I have some, daily meditation, finding that still space, coming back to center, being more present. That has absolutely transformed the way that I turn up, I show up.
Right. And do you find more insights then, more connection,
Absolutely,
more
yeah.
kind of your true self?
Yes, and it's less effort. It's less tiring.
Yeah, you think it's going to be hard work, but
You do.
actually it's less work, right?
It is, absolutely.
Because there's no facade. You're actually just showing up. And I know we've talked about this too, but for those of who are listening and watching this too, the whole thing about just being so comfortable in your own skin, right? And just being your authentic self, like do you, right? The one snowflake,
Exactly.
and then just knowing that when you're happy, things will work out. Not that when things work out, you'll be happy, but the other way around, right?
Exactly.
And I think that you've manifested that, and again, have just been a shining light in that, arena, I think, over the years. So amazing. Anything else on relationships you want to say before we move on to the next area?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, we can always circle back around.
We can circle
There's
back,
centrifugal
yeah.
looping, as we know, right? It's all connected.
We always start somewhere and go somewhere completely
We always
different.
go. So
Always.
I always have, with Fiona, I always have an agenda we're going to do, and we never talk about that. We always do something else. So,
That's why I'm still here.
Exactly. So if you look at the next category, which is you understand the business, and that's a huge category,
It is.
but what would you say is one of the nuggets that you have in, again, kind of in the context of your coaching experience and the personal kind of growth and development you've been on over the past years? What's a key understanding that you've come to understand that's really been a game changer for you?
It probably is about understanding biases. And
say more.
as far as with going back to relationships, but especially, whether it's work or personal, how you relate to people, again, knowing how you're going to show up, again, it's about those triggers. And we know that, I had probably some behaviors where, glass half full, however you want to look at it. But just understanding what those biases were and judgments, and I guess working through realizing that and just, being more aware of that. But also see, you see it more in other people as well. And
Yes.
also you understand that you attract yourself to people who are also like yourself. So as far as that side of it, a lot of insight.
Right. That's great. And I think, yeah, that's so true, that the understanding of just being ourselves, right, and the biases, and not being attached to those biases, because they're all there based upon, and we've had lots of conversations about this, whether it's your upbringing or your programming or, your education and all these things, but that's not you, right? You're the awareness behind that,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So it's not being attached to that. And I know that you've, really kind of shown in that light too, about just understanding. I mean, I even remember conversations where you're like, yeah, but that's just my programming or whatever, and you don't take it seriously anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas before you'd be like, oh no, this is the right way, when actually,
Yeah.
when you're attached to that, it becomes a struggle. It becomes so difficult, right? And we lack then that compassion and that empathy and that ability to kind of connect to other people, which you're right. It goes back to building relationships, right?
Yeah.
But that understanding is so key. That leads to what? BUI, implement strategies. I know one strategy you talked about, which is meditation. So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, once we talk about that, let's just talk about some strategies and maybe some of the specific things, because we've done a lot of strategizing,
Yeah,
right? We've done a lot of tactics and techniques and tools and specific things, whether it's, clarity, energy, courage, productivity, influence, persuasion. I mean, all of these things, right? So what are some of your favorite strategies that you've implemented over the years? Let's start with meditation, right? So how did that become, because now it is a strategy, right? Like you said,
It's
I mean,
100%
you do
strategy.
that daily, right?
Yeah.
So how did that become a strategy, and what have you found? Because a lot of people out there, I talk about meditation all the time, right? And I love the Dalai Lama's quote, of course, which is, everyone needs to meditate at least 15 minutes a day, everyone, except people who think they're too busy or don't have time for it. They need to meditate 2.5 hours a day, right?
Yeah.
So everyone kind of gets it, but no one actually, in a lot of senses, actually then does it, right? But you actually embraced that and started practicing it, and then experientially, I think, came to understand the benefit. But talk a little bit about that journey that you had with meditation. I think will be really helpful for those out there potentially thinking about, implementing a strategy of meditation in their lives.
So it was simple to start with. You gave me 5 minutes, 10 minutes. We started with the inner breath, inner smile sort of meditation, and what I found was that when I was super still, I could actually go quite deep. It was really, really relaxing, calming. You just feel so at peace on the other side of that. And then we've moved into our ABCs, as we call it. And that for me is a real grounding meditation every day. So the routine is I get up at usually 5:10 in the morning. I take my dog for a walk, come home, take my shoes off, sit outside, have my feet on the ground, and I meditate for probably 10 minutes only. And then I get on with my day. And it's just, it just clears my head, stops any of that self-talk or ruminating on what's happening the day before or what you think's coming in the day. You just shut it down.
You're just present.
And it works every time.
And you often tell me, not recently because you're doing it every day, but the days I didn't do it, what happens the days you don't do it? Coincidentally, what happens the days you don't do it?
Something triggers, something sets me off, that, and it is that, this is something I need to, it's a challenge, I'm thinking about it, I'm overthinking about it. So, yeah. Yeah,
it is amazing. Even just 10 minutes, right? I mean, that consistency every single day, it's like watering plants, right? Don't throw a bucket of water on at the end of the month, right? It's not the same thing, just every single day, and it sets your day up for success and stillness and insight and all those things that we talk about. So that's the strategy of meditation, which I love. It's the foundation of everything in a lot of ways. Are there other strategies that we implemented throughout the years that you want to talk about?
I'm just trying to think. Is there any one particular thing? I often reflect on all the work that we've done. I actually brought my build book because obviously I take notes, and you have given me homework. So different things come up at different times, and even if it's just confidence or courage or influence, they tend to be some of the ones that I go back to. But
right, and using those formulas and practices and actually
and just
techniques.
reflect on even what I wrote at the time, because strangely enough, going back to the book to prepare for this, same things come up. So it's obviously is a process, it goes back to those neural pathways and old habits, if you like.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's almost a new way it's almost fun, to reflect back on things and realize that this works. It's going to work.
Yeah.
You just need to do it. Remind yourself to do it.
100%. And each time you read through, probably you get, even though they're the same words, the same chapters, I didn't write a new version, right? But you get a greater depth of understanding, right?
Yeah.
Each time, because it's something that you're experientially understanding and making yours, right? Which is what I love, because you've clearly made the build framework yours. And one strategy that comes to mind for me with us, and this isn't the case with everyone, because everyone's different, right? And some people go in different places, but do you want to talk a little bit about conscious manifestation? Because I know that's a big strategy that we talk about all the time. It might be a little esoteric for those out there, but just so you know, we go deep in conscious manifestation when it's appropriate, and we've gone there. And I don't know if you want to share any stories about that or just like in general, but what do you have to say about that topic?
Well, it's still a work in progress, but we often talk about feel like you. It's a feeling. It's not overthinking. It's feeling like you already have what you're looking for, as opposed to, wanting it, or and in that feeling, if you're successful, then you'll actually not need it. It is about. I'm not explaining it very well. You can do it much better than me.
No, you're doing well. And I think I remember situations where what you're talking about there is, just that you put the feeling there and then the feeling comes, right? And because anything that we're trying to manifest, it's never about the thing. It's about the feeling that the thing gives us, right? Yeah. So if we can have that feeling, that's what's going to attract that manifestation in your life, because that's the frequency and the whole thing about conscious manifestation. But as you just articulated, you don't actually need that, because it's not about you need that to happen. You just want the feeling. You can have the feeling now, right? Yeah. But then when that happens and you manifest that feeling, then those things happen. I remember a couple times with, whether it was a call or an opportunity or this or that, you felt that and you were like, JP, you actually texted me in between sessions. You can't believe, we did that little, feeling manifest, and the person called, or this thing happened totally coincidentally, right? But I think you've been starting to see over the years that coincidence is not really coincidence. It's just everything that we plan out and make happen.
Absolutely. And I mean, even the job that I've got, we designed that job together, I think. When we talked about what are you looking for, what could it be? I wanted to move to Melbourne, and it just all turned up.
Exactly. Perfect opportunity, right, to explain what conscious manifestation is all about. For those of you who missed that, she was in between jobs. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, don't go out there and search. Just feel what the perfect job is. Where is it? What are you doing? What is the type of opportunity? And then lo and behold, coincidentally, that exact thing came up. So I always say, careful what you wish for, right? Because then you get exactly, then you're like, I could have asked for this or this or this. So that's the problem with conscious manifestation.
I would have redesigned it a little differently, but we're okay.
It works. So you got to be careful of that. That's why I always say, and make it even better, right, or whatever. So, but that's a perfect kind of example of that. So, and we could talk the whole time about that. So we'll move on from strategies right now. But if you look at BUIL, right, so lead and inspire, and you are such a beacon of light and leading and inspiring, I know, personally and professionally. What do you have to say about that category and how that's kind of evolved over our journey together?
I think if I jump to the end, I'm going to say, at the end of the day, I realize it's how you show up. It's not necessarily about standing in front of people and giving an inspiration speech, or it's
motivation.
Yeah, exactly. Rah, rah. It's not about that at all. It's interesting. Before I came in today, we're a global company now, and so somebody who reports to me from the US called and just said, I was watching you on the Zoom yesterday and you looked frustrated. And I'm just like, thank you for noticing, but geez, I'm really disappointed that I looked frustrated. Because you've just got to bring the right energy, you've got to support the team. And certainly, with myself, it's just about being present, and you're automatically your best self, and being authentic, I think. So I think people know me well, or people will get to know me if they don't already, that I'm authentic and I'm honest, and I want good and honest conversation, and I'm fair, and so that's how I like to show up.
Right.
Yeah.
And
you know, sometimes that works for you and sometimes it works against you, but I'm not taking it as personally as I used to.
exactly.
Yeah.
And one of the tools I know that we have in our coaching process is to create a high performance profile, right?
It is.
That allows you to show up as your best self each and every day. So through the power of technology, we will show you right now Fiona's high performance profile. We'll put that up on the screen. And do you want to walk people through kind of
Sure.
what that is all about, and kind of just talk through your words and your purpose statement and how this helps you to show up as your best self each and every day?
Yep. So yeah, we started, wow, this feels like a long time ago too, doesn't it? I know, I was reflecting on it in preparation for the show, and as I said, I sort of scribbled the purpose statement a little differently, but
Right, ever evolving, right?
it is
Especially when we look at it
ever-evolving.
closely, we're
I
like,
know.
actually, yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine and appropriate.
So yeah, I guess I do like to show up as fun, passionate, and inspiring. That's the aspiration. I think still some things to do there, but so yeah, my interaction words are positive, engaged, and authentic. And again, that's very much around how I like to show up.
Yeah, and for those of you looking at this too, we have across the top there, just for context, those are kind of Fiona's global words. So the foundation of everything she does. She actually probably still has them in your phone, don't you, as a reminder, right? Every day. It's
do,
fun,
yeah.
passionate, inspiring. So that lays the foundation. And then interaction words really are, like she said, how she interacts with people. So do you actually find yourself like saying those words before you interact with people? I mean, how do you tactically apply this?
Yeah, it's a good point. I used to. I don't anymore. But now that I reflect on it, you know, they're the words that
It's become kind of automatic, right?
Talking about, yeah.
Right, right. And then success markers are, of course, the things that help you to become successful and stay focused on success in your life. So what are those for you?
Perceptive, collaborative, and driven.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. And what do those mean to you?
Again, it's about, you know, listening, coming up with teamwork, solutions, working on solutions together. And like, I'm always driven. I love striving for something. I love having a common goal and succeeding. So that's, you know, that's never changed. I've always had that.
Right.
It is literally around, well, how do you get there?
Right.
And bring the team with you, or bring your life with you.
Yes, exactly. Right. And have you found it helpful to have this like on the wall and in your phone and all these different processes, to have this quantified in regards to kind of your global words, your interaction words, and your success markers?
I think I've told you, I used to have it as my screensaver on my
right.
on my desktop, on my laptop.
Right.
So that used to be the reminder, which always got some interest if it sort of came up in the middle of a meeting. It's
Sure.
like, oh, what's that?
A good conversation starter, right?
It is, absolutely.
Yep. And I know at least at one point you were reading your purpose statement out loud each and every day. Hopefully you're still doing that. And I know that, like you said, it's tweaked a little bit on the plane coming over here, but we have this version here. Do you want to read this version out loud for everyone?
I can.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay. The purpose of my life is to be authentic, happy, energetic, vibrant, optimistic, and kind. To find and create joy in myself and others, to see and bring out the best in all, to inspire, to grow, motivate, and expand love and find peace within myself, my family, and beyond, so that the people around me and through me feel safe, secure, happy, and optimistic, inspired to see the limitless possibilities that lie ahead of them and their lives, for their amazing individual and our collective future, building resilience for each other with strength, courage, peace, and community for all.
Goosebumps. I don't know how you can make that better.
I don't know.
You can tweak it all you want to, but I'm thinking that's a pretty good purpose statement.
It's pretty aspirational.
Well, that's what you want it to be, your North Star, right?
Exactly, yeah. If I gave myself, you know, a score out of 10, there's a couple of 10s in there, but, you know, there's a lot in there.
That's great. And how does that help you, like reading? And do you say that out loud or every day, almost every day?
I used to do it every day.
I'm hearing a lot of I used to.
I know.
This is good. We should have a show like this every couple months to make sure you get back on track.
I'm a bad student.
Yeah, exactly. No, not at all.
No. for a little while I knew it off by heart, but obviously it's dropped off a little bit. But when I do pick it up and read it, you know, it's a reminder of what I want to be and, you know, my goals. And again, it's about, you know, am I happy? Am I turning up optimistic? Am I, you know, there's a lot of things in there that, and I think what I would say is over the time, I think, because I've found more, I want to say peace, but, you know, it's a happiness and a contentment. I wanted to reflect that more in this.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then we'll modify that. So the next version, we
Yeah.
will make sure that that gets applied. And I think, too, you know, the fact of sharing this with others, and do you, I mean, you mentioned it comes up on your screen every once in a while, so that's a conversation starter, but do you share this with others other than, you know, when it might pop up somewhere?
Mainly my boys.
Yeah. Can I tell a story?
Yes, you can.
So I remember.
Oh, actually, what's the story?
Well, exactly. So we might have to edit this out.
Yeah.
No, so I remember when you first went through the process, you know what I'm going to say now, of the purpose statement.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so you do it, but then, you know, share it at the dinner table, like read it out. And again, it's your story, so I might be embellishing it a bit, so you can correct me if I'm off base here. But my recollection of the story is that you read through your words, and then you read the purpose statement and the whole thing about, you know, this. And one of your boys said something like, "Oh, who's that person? I'd love to meet them."
Yes, I do remember that.
And you were like, "Oh my goodness, that was an eye-opening thing. Like, I can like step into this a little bit better each and every day because they're like not recognizing that person as me."
Exactly.
You're like, "No, that's me." They're like, "Oh no, I want to meet that person."
Yeah, 100%.
Kids are great, aren't they?
It's great.
All right. Hold you accountable. And do
That's
you
right.
find them holding you accountable to these types of things and others if you share? And that's the beauty of sharing it, of course, is that then people, again, you hold yourself accountable because it's out there, but also then in a nice kind way, it's like, "Oh no, you weren't this and that." You don't want to judge people and all of that, but having that accountability and ability for other people to know it through sharing can really help you, again, push through the hard times and step into that best version of yourself when otherwise you might not, because it's just something you know, right?
It's true.
So, but how's that gone with the sharing with the family and the rest? And was that story accurate?
The story is very accurate.
Okay.
I was just reflecting. I wonder what they would say now. I should ask them.
You should ask them.
I
Read
should
it
ask
again.
them. I should
Right,
ask
exactly.
them. They'd probably give me a score out of 10 as well on different elements.
Right.
Oh, look, they are very positive. I'm pretty sure they would say that there's definite change in. Well, it's interesting, you know, if I was really honest, like right now I'm working really long days. I've picked up some of my old habits.
Patterns repeating.
I
patterns repeating.
know.
Right, yeah.
So I have gone back. And again, it's partly because of the company I've joined and where they're up to. And we are global. And so I have the US in the morning and the UK at night and those sorts of things. And I love the work. And so, you know, I'm not probably giving them my best self as much as I should be. So it's a timely reflection to kind of go, well, you know.
And a
have
good
to find
reminder.
Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
that leads into D, deliver excellence. So, what does excellence look like for Fiona nowadays, and how do you make sure that you deliver excellence each and every day?
That's a good question. I think I'm great at delivering excellence at work.
Yes.
Well, so, you know, from a work perspective, you know, I've always felt like I've been really strong in that space. You know, the thing that I talk to my team about and the thing that I live by is know what good looks like and act with a sense of urgency. And I probably at home and in my personal life, I'm definitely, you know, we've talked about this over different times. I'm a better friend. I'm a better daughter. I'm a better sister. You know, I'm taking the time to...
A better mother.
Yes, I also am a better mother.
Include that because it's true. I know you omitted it, but it's there. It is.
Yep. I set goals. I usually get distracted, but then I usually come back to them. I hold myself more accountable.
Right.
I think is really what it comes down to.
Right.
And, you know, part of that for me is having a routine, which is really interesting. I didn't know I needed a routine, but getting up
freedom is in structure, actually.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing that people don't realize.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah. So part of that is getting up at 5:10, 7 days a week. The dog helps, but I do have a structured routine, and I do make sure that there's time for my family and that there is time for my friends. And of course, with work, I give 100% as well.
Right.
So, I have high expectations of myself, which works for and against me. But more recently, as you know, I just turned 50. And
Yay.
I went away for the first time in a long time, and I just switched off, and I realized how powerful that was and how much I need that.
To just reboot.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that not working and just staying at home doesn't quite cut it. You've actually got to separate. So, so that was good. And we did nothing. We just went away to a nice house near a beach and did nothing. So it was a reminder how much, it's part of that meditation practice, but that is something I'll do more often if I can.
Right, just being present.
Just being present.
Yeah, people do that. They know with technology, like if there's a problem, unplug it, reboot, right?
Yeah.
But we don't do that with ourselves. We try to fix it. Just unplug and reboot. See what happens, right? And apply all these things together. So that's what excellence looks like. I love that. And finally, we could talk again all day, but if you're, talking to folks out there, which you are, who are maybe thinking about coaching, or if you look at, what if you wouldn't have done this over these years, or people contemplating, should I make the investment in myself? Should I do it or should I not do it? I mean, what insight or inspiration or advice do you have to those folks who might be contemplating going into a coaching arrangement?
As we've talked about, there's so many different coaches. I think you need to work out what you need. At the time when I think we started talking, I thought I needed a business coach, didn't I? Which you obviously do that as well.
Right.
But what I really needed, what I needed was a Fiona coach.
Right.
And so I would suggest people just stop. I would even suggest, people try, even if, they make a commitment to make a short-term investment, to try something like this, because as you know, there's no way I would have thought 3 years later I was still getting a huge amount of value, holding me accountable, bringing me back. So it's been really, really powerful and meaningful in my life. And, there's certain people in my life that I share this with. Depending on where this goes, people might see more of this conversation, but there's some people who just don't get it, and there's some people who, they all have coaches and they can see the value. And I also think in that business side, as you go up the ladder, a coach is even more important.
Right.
Because it's how, all of a sudden you're leading much bigger teams than you are inspiring people. It's part of your role. So it's a journey, and it's worth it.
Right. Well, thank you for that. And let me say back at you that the opportunity to coach someone like you is amazing, because you show up on the field, game day every time, right? And you do the work. Because the truth is, if you're not doing the work, then who cares, right? Because all the best plans and plays and techniques and tactics and tools and methodologies and frameworks, who cares if you're not actually making it yours and putting it into your DNA and applying it in your life to become your best self. And you continue to do that each and every day. So I want to say thank you for doing that as well.
Thank you.
How would people get a hold of you if they want to talk more about anything that you would like to talk about with them, if anything?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn. That's the easy way to find me. Certainly, I've joined this amazing company called Flame. If there's anyone in the fire services industry, what we do is virtual reality training for firefighters, which is safe, no carcinogens, gets them to practice in situations they can't usually replicate or simulate in real training, so or in other hot fire training, we'll call it.
Right.
So it's an exciting business. We've got lots of traction around the world, and hopefully I turn up there.
Right. Well, amazing, and thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Thank you.
And thank all of you for joining us here as well. For more great resources to help you become your best self, including free worksheets and downloads, make sure to check out thebuildframework.com. That's it for this episode. I'm JP. We'll see you next time on The Build Show.